In a word, it's chaos.
You'll have to see it to believe it. Whoever said that must have been talking about Talladega. It's a place where chaos mixes with speed, where a town turns into a city, and a weekend becomes a lifetime of memories. It's a tradition like no other.
What a wild finish.
At a track like no other. And after it's all over, you still don't believe it ever happened.
The winner at Talladega.
Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Glad to welcome you back to the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and welcome to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We're thrilled to have NASCAR as the presenting sponsor of Crimson Drive for what will be our final show on this Thursday as just a Thursday-only show. Next week is game week for Alabama football. We'll be moving to twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, coming up at 2 p.m. Central, right back here on the CTSN Facebook page, so make sure you subscribe to all our videos that are coming up, and of course, like the Crimson Tide Sports Network for all the latest on the Crimson Tide. Coming up on this show today, we're going to be very busy as we go through all of our headlines thanks to the smart board that's been delivered by RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. First things first on the show, we'll be hearing from the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, as he gave his thoughts after last night's practice inside the indoor facility, the Hank Crisp indoor facility, due to some rain we had in Tuscaloosa. We'll also be talking about tonight's edition of Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show, as Chris Stewart will be joining us to give us a full preview of that show, plus the Nick Saban television show that'll air for the first time coming up this weekend. Then we'll be talking volleyball for the rest of the show as Alabama volleyball begins the season this weekend inside Foster Auditorium. First, a chat with the new head coach of the Crimson Tide, Rashinda Reed, who's had a very busy offseason, as we'll hear about, and then Abby Marjama now gearing up for her third season wearing the crimson and the white, so we're excited to hear from both of those young ladies coming up in just a few moments. Going through some other headlines, starting with Crimson Tide football team. It is the final week of preseason camp for Alabama as they are gearing up for the season opener on September 3rd against Utah State. Again, next week we kind of get back in that regular rhythm of game week all throughout here in Tuscaloosa, gearing up for the Tide and the Utah State Aggies, the reigning Mountain West Conference champions. Also, we got some great news earlier in the week from Alabama Athletics that Coach Saban's contract has been extended through the 2029 season. So that's great news for Coach Saban. Becomes the highest paid football coach in college football once again with that news. We'll be hearing from Coach Saban coming up in just a few moments. Taking a look, let's go to soccer next, as the Alabama soccer team tonight will be at home. They last weekend started the season on the road in Florida with a trip to FAU, picked up a victory there, and then fell by just a goal at Miami, a 1-0 decision on Sunday against the Miami Hurricanes. But now they're back at home, ready for the home opener tonight against Southern Miss, coming up at 6 p.m. That'll be shown on SEC Network Plus. Same can be said for the 6 p.m. game against Clemson. Alabama and Clemson, yes, there's been the football rivalry over the years, women's basketball as well to a degree, but in soccer, Alabama and Clemson keep meeting in the postseason, and last year we saw the Crimson Tide beat Clemson to win its first ever NCAA tournament game, so a lot of excitement. You know, Clemson's going to want some revenge for that. Great to have the Tigers coming up on campus at the Alabama Soccer Stadium coming up on Sunday. Crimson Tide, again, last year picked up a win against Clemson, also beat Southern Miss in overtime last year, something we no longer have in college soccer. We just play two 45-minute halves. If the game ends in a tie at the end of the second half, then it will remain a draw. Something new for this year. Let's go back to volleyball, as again we will be talking with Rashinda Reed as well as Abby Marjama coming up. The season starting this weekend with the Crimson Tide Invitational, Alabama taking on McNeese, also UTSA, and then Southern Miss. And then the next home match will be September 21st against Florida. There are a couple of weekend tournaments where the Crimson Tide will be on the road, basically the first 3 weeks of September. So your first glimpse at the Crimson Tide under the direction of Rashinda Reed coming up, and you will want to see the Crimson Tide inside Foster Auditorium. A lot has changed inside that building. We'll be talking more about that with Coach Reed and Abby Marjama in a moment. Also, some other news regarding Alabama athletics. Dr. Karen Lee was announced yesterday as the new Deputy Athletic Director, also the Senior Woman Administrator, and the Chief Diversity Officer for the University of Alabama, in a role that was previously held by Tiffany Grimes, who's now back at her alma mater at Purdue. So we're thrilled to have Dr. Karen Lee back at Alabama after previously serving the athletics department 2 decades ago. So great to have her back in town. Also, some staffing assignments from the softball team. Lance McMahon has been named the new pitching coach for the University of Alabama. He, like Rashinda Reed, comes to Alabama from Illinois, and he takes the spot of Stephanie Van Brakel-Prothro, who was recently named the head coach at the University of Memphis. So we wish Steph all the best with her new role with the Memphis Tigers. Coach McMahon and Coach Murphy, and also Coach Habits, the rest of the Crimson Tide all gear up this year with a fall schedule that includes 8 games that are coming up, starting with the Sand Mountain Showdown on October 12th against Jacksonville State. So we're really looking forward to that game that was scheduled for last spring. We're now rescheduled for the fall. A great way to have it as well. I like having it in the fall to get everybody fired up for Crimson Tide softball. But of course, we'll start this show with some football. We'll first be hearing from the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, as he met with the media on Wednesday after practice.
Well, I haven't really talked to you guys since watching the scrimmage film, so I do think we made significant improvement in a lot of areas. But still the question remains, can you complete a simple task on a consistent basis so that you can play winning football? And that's the question that a lot of players have to answer, especially, some of the backup players, the less experienced players who are getting plenty of reps now, but they have to take advantage of the opportunity. And it comes down to what I said last year. You've got to prepare yourself so when you get a chance to play, you can take advantage of that because you are ready to play, rather than focusing on too many other things. You control what you say, what you think, and what you do. And what somebody else does, what somebody else says, what somebody else thinks really doesn't matter. So it's important to stay focused and keep the main thing, especially at this point in time, because right now we got to start deciding, all right, who are we going to coach, who are we going to bring along, who are we going to play on special teams, how many guys can we travel with, what's their role going to be, and guys have had lots of opportunity to find that. So hopefully we'll get more and more guys that are ready to play winning football so that we have more depth on the team, because we definitely need that to get through the kind of schedule, the kind of difficult challenges that we're going to have in the future. But other than that, I have nothing else to really report. We continue this week to work on other opponents who do different things, and we'll do a little bit on the first game tomorrow, but not really start on that till Friday, full metal jacket. Yeah, James has made a lot of improvement. He's got really good potential. I think the biggest thing that he has to continue to do is consistency. Now, when he takes the right steps and he drops the ball, he's got a really powerful leg. But he's just got to do that on a really, really consistent basis, and he's gotten a lot better. So we have a lot more confidence. I think he has a lot more confidence. I think he feels a lot better about the situation that he's in and what's expected of him, and he's done a good job this fall camp. Well, I think that we have 3 guys now that for 2 positions that you definitely can count on, and then we got about 4 other guys who really all have the ability to do it, that need to continue to make improvement. Those are the kind of guys on our team that I'm really talking about. What do you have to do to prepare so you can take advantage of an opportunity when you get it? So that we're not making mental errors and we're not just gifting, to the other team because we're not sure what we're doing and we're not confident in how to do it and can't go out there and play fast and play team defense. So that's what we got to continue to do. When you're talking about linebackers, when you don't fit runs right and you leave a gap open, you get gashed. So we definitely need for those guys to continue to improve.
That was Coach Saban with Coach's Checklist as we continue on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. The NASCAR Cup Series playoffs are returning to Talladega this fall. Don't miss out on the opportunity to see defending champ Bubba Wallace as he takes to the track on Sunday, October 2nd. Tickets are on sale now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. If you can't make it out to the track, tune into the race on NBC at 1 p.m. Central on October 2nd. Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. One of the features that we have each week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, all throughout the football season, is a Hey Coach and Nick Saban show preview. And of course, we've done that with the voice of the Crimson Tide, Eli Gold, who is continuing to battle some health issues as we get ready to start the season. Chris Stewart will be filling in not only on football play-by-play for Eli, but also hosting our Thursday night show, Hey Coach and the Nick Saban show from Baumhauer's Victory Grill. And we hope to be joined by him each week throughout the football season to get a preview of the show and also take a look at Alabama football. So here's our first Hey Coach preview of the new year as we're joined by Chris Stewart. Chris, roll tide. It's great to see you.
Roll tide, Roger. Great to see you.
Well, it's really exciting that we're almost to game week. We know you're going to be excited to get to Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Just what's on tap on the show tonight?
Yeah, looking forward to talking with the new volleyball coach at the University of Alabama, learning some philosophy there on what things will look like, and the same for gymnastics. You know, two programs that have absolutely mean a lot. We get so wrapped up in football, and it's understandable, but it's one of the things I love about these different shows and formats that we have, Roger, an opportunity to remind people of everything going on in Alabama athletics and a chance to spotlight them. So we'll have a chance to do that with the program this week. And in addition, a guy we've gotten to know over the years and excited to visit with Bob Baumhauer, our host on Hey Coach each week from his restaurant, but also, one of the greats to wear an Alabama uniform. Always fun to talk to him.
Well, that's really exciting coming up. Again, Hey Coach and the Nick Saban show this week, and then Coach Saban will be joining you at the restaurant moving forward. Just what excites you the most about having that energy in the building once again, once Coach Saban is back on the show?
Look, it is, there's nothing like it. And it's such a different dynamic when he's there. And there's the buzz and the excitement about the start of the season. But to me, the part that I've always enjoyed on the handful of occasions that I've filled in the past for Eli on that is how much Coach enjoys that show. You know, you expect the fans to be excited to see him, but he thoroughly enjoys doing that and interacting with the fans and having a chance to talk to them and set the stage for what's taking place for the weekend and deliver the message to the fans just as he's delivered it to the players. That's fun to see as well.
And we know earlier in the week, you had a chance to visit with Coach Saban in his office and record the first episode of the Nick Saban television show. What should our fans expect on that show coming up later this week?
It's going to be the very typical first show of the year. There's going to be a look back at the Nick's Kids Luncheon that is really the kickoff to fall camp, if you will. The players come in and take part in that luncheon and visit with the kids and the great organizations that are a part of the Nick's Kids Foundation. And so there'll be a feature on that. We'll also spend some time looking at the coaching staff and hearing from both offensive and defensive coordinators, or the offensive and defensive coordinators for the staff, and also just hear Coach's thoughts on where things are with camp, which that's what we want to hear from most, is what Coach thinks. And he certainly shares some insight and interesting thoughts on what's coming up, not just for the season as a whole, but specifically for Utah State in the opener.
Well, of course, you're filling in for our friend Eli Gold, who's undergoing some health treatments at the moment on play-by-play for Alabama football to begin the season. And what's this past month been like for you as you get ready for that first game against Utah State and stepping into that role?
Hectic. The way it is for all of us, it's a busy start as we ramp towards the kickoff of the first game. But obviously, in his absence, there's a little bit more required of all of us, and you're no different in that regard. We all have different responsibilities to pick up, and Roger, it's one that I had a good example on how to handle this, because you were terrific in the way you stepped in for me and the way you managed that 3 years ago, and it's always going to be appreciated. I've tried to do that in the same manner, respectful and understanding. This is Eli's job. And as you said, I'm filling in. It's taken a little more time, but it's something that, while I hate that it's needed, my services in that regard are needed, I'm grateful that I've been asked to do it.
Well, we're looking forward to Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show, not only coming up Thursday at Baumhower's Victory Grill next week with Coach Saban, then, of course, the season will begin September 3rd against Utah State. Chris, just thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you more on Crimson Drive here in the next few weeks. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, Roger. Thanks so much.
You'll have to see it to believe it. Whoever said that must have been talking about Talladega. It's a place where chaos mixes with speed, where a town turns into a city, and a weekend becomes a lifetime of memories. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Again, great to be joined by Chris Stewart here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. And don't forget, tonight it is Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa, starting at 6:30. And once again, Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show streaming live right here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network on the video stream. Of course, goes out to all of our radio affiliates across the South, along with the Varsity Network app. So again, great chances to catch up tonight with Chris Stewart. As you mentioned, Rashinda Reed, Ashley Johnston will be there talking as well with Bob Baumhower and Rashad Johnson. Should be a great show coming up from Baumhower's Victory Grill. One of the guests that I'll have on the show tonight will let you hear from right now, as we're really excited for the start of Alabama volleyball season, and that's in large part because of the new head coach of the Crimson Tide, Rashinda Reed, as she brings a great resume to Tuscaloosa, had been a great assistant at Illinois, and she's had, as you'll hear in this interview, a very busy offseason getting ready for her first year at the helm of this program. We went to Foster Auditorium yesterday, had a great conversation with new Alabama volleyball head coach Rashinda Reed. Coach, Roll Tide, your first Alabama matches are coming up this weekend. You excited to begin the season?
Well, I'm absolutely excited. We've been waiting for this moment for months. So, I mean, the ladies and I have been talking about it and just getting ourselves, geared up for this weekend.
Well, of course, you were here in the winter going into the spring, some workouts then, but what was really the focus when the team reconvened this summer?
The biggest focus that we talked about was culture. Just really building culture because we're just trying to set the foundation for Alabama volleyball moving forward.
And, of course, you're getting ready for what looks to be an outstanding season. A lot of players returning. Just what do you like about your team right now?
Right now, what I really love about the team is that they're all internally driven. They really just want to get after it. We talk about putting everything on the court, and these are things that we've been implementing in practice, and I know that they're really excited about having the opportunity to do it with somebody else on the other side of the net.
Yeah, Abby Marjama, when we talked to her, said what you guys do, you allow the team to compete against themselves so much. Why is that so important in your program?
Well, first of all, just being able to have the opportunity to compete just sets a standard for how we're going to go about competing against all the other opponents. So all the opportunities to compete, there are a lot of things you can learn while in competition versus just doing things that are just drill-oriented. So as far as that, competing put us in the best position to battle with somebody else.
Let's go position by position for just a moment. We'll start at the net. What do you like about your middle blockers going into the year?
Our middle blockers, man, they're incredibly athletic. They're all dynamic, and they all have this. It's hard because they're all the entire team is full of competitors, but with them, I think maybe my heart is, works the middles a little bit more because I work with them so intimately. But I feel like all their personalities are just really vibrant. Oh my goodness, what can I say? Yeah, but that's what I love about the middles is that middles are workhorses, right? They're the ones that they have to focus on all the different attackers. And you could just tell that there's that hunger and that desire to be that defender. So it's really exciting to see.
How about at the setting position?
In the setting position, these are football terminology, these are your quarterbacks. They're the ones that are creating our offense. So I love to see how right now they're all kind of establishing their game individually, which is an extension of themselves. So right now, as far as the two setters go, I know as the competition is in front of us, we'll see what game evolves when we have somebody else on the other side of the net.
And of course, setters trying to get the outside hitters involved. What do you like about your right side and left side hitters right now?
I don't look at them. I don't look at them any different. I feel like all of them are trying to find different ways to score. I think that for them individually, they're also trying to identify what their individual games are, and we've been exploring different ways of finding the floor and expanding their range offensively. So honestly can't truly single them out as individuals with right versus the left side. I just think that when I watch them play, just watching their game evolve and seeing how they are individually identifying their strengths and finding different ways to score out on the floor.
And then to kind of round it out, your defensive specialist, hungry for digs in the back. Have you landed on a libero to begin this season?
I think it's still early. It's too early to identify. You're still playing around with it because, all of them are incredibly talented. Honestly, when we are we're finding that lineup, as a coaching staff, we're thinking about what is best for the team. And right now, I think it's still a little early to tell. We'll actually see again when we have somebody else on the other side of the net.
And that leads us right into being at home this opening weekend for college volleyball season. What are you excited about the most with the teams that are coming in here to Tuscaloosa?
Just competition, just a different look to see just different styles of volleyball, just the opportunity to battle it out and being able to do it in our home the first weekend. That in itself is an awesome opportunity to be able to sleep in your bed, be in front of your community, be in your new home in this beautiful space, and just battle.
You mentioned this beautiful space. Foster Auditorium looks a little different than the last time our fans were in here. A volleyball-specific court, new writing, new crimson all over the place. Just what have you liked about some of the changes inside here?
Everything. First of all, this is an amazing space for volleyball, a very intimate space. It's really tough to play with your fans right around you, not for us, of course, but for your opponents, and just to have that support and hear them right there with you. There's something about the fans' energy that really helps your own level of play. And as far as this beautiful, it's a beautiful space. So to have the opportunity to battle it out in this beautiful space, it just goes to show that the institution truly does value our players. And it's something that they always said, but to see it right in front of you, the girls, it's just a big deal.
Of course, we're going to love when you're home here in Tuscaloosa for these matches this weekend, but then some time on the road coming up, some trips to Texas as well as Indiana. How important are those to get ready for SEC play?
I think every opportunity to play with different types of athletes, different types of competition is great. This is great practice for our conference play. Right now, all the teams that we're going to be battling with are all high-level programs. Just like at the SEC, we have a great deal of talent, a lot of different athleticism, different styles of volleyball play. So having the opportunity to play with all different types of volleyball is great practice for SEC in our conference.
Of course, you had a great addition to this Alabama volleyball family in late July with the birth of your son, Lucas. Just how excited is Lucas? How excited is Mom for the season to be here?
Well, I'm excited. Lucas doesn't really know yet, but I know everyone's excited to have him around. And of course, I'm biased because, he's mine. But, just loving being a mom and loving also being able to share that with the team. I think it's something special to show that, you have someone that can coach at a high level, but then also, be a mom. You're seeing that human side of you. It's, and I think that also allows you to establish a level of trust when, hey, you know what? I'm not just a coach. I'm a person who also cares about you inside the court and outside the court. And you also see that how I am with my own family. In the fact that I'm also bringing my family into this other family, it just goes to show that we're not separate. We really I want this holistic experience for both them and myself.
We're excited Lucas is here. We're excited, of course, you're here as Alabama's volleyball coach. Just thank you so much for joining us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and best of luck in the first matches coming up this weekend. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Fun conversation with Rashinda Reed, the new volleyball coach here at the University of Alabama, as the Crimson Tide are gearing up for this weekend's Crimson Tide Invitational here at home in Tuscaloosa. And also, when we were at Foster Auditorium, we had a chance to catch up with super senior Abby Marjama, an outstanding outside hitter for the Crimson Tide, second on the team in kills last season, and she is poised for a huge year coming up for the Crimson Tide. So we figured it was a good chance to catch up with Alabama volleyball's Abby Marjama. First of all, Abby, Roll Tide. Are you glad the season's here?
I'm so excited, Roger. This is going to be the best season yet.
Well, what can you tell us about the preparation you've done, the Crimson Tide have done over the last few weeks to get ready for this weekend?
Yeah, we've just been in the gym every day grinding as much as we can. There's a saying on the whiteboard, so do what's best for the team, believe in ourselves, and do whatever you can to work hard and just do better for the team. And so we've been in here day in and day out, just focusing on getting 1% better every single day and doing something outside of our comfort zone and just really working towards just bettering ourselves and the team.
What's the transition been like getting to know Coach Reed? What kind of style of play has she brought to Alabama?
I mean, she's competitive, and then that's what we need. And I'm saying, like, all of us can agree she is an amazing coach and really connects with us, not just as players but as people. And she's truly amazing, like really pushes us to work hard, but is never hard and demeaning towards us. She's so motivating and so encouraging and wants us to get better, and you can feel that in like her energy and tone and how she runs practice. And even the assistants, like they're all together working towards a common goal, and it helps us be on the same page and really makes us want to be better.
Any new drills or new concepts, anything that they've brought that kind of made you look at volleyball a little bit differently than you had before?
I would say we play a lot, and I think that's something like really fun towards practice, because I know like day in, day out, when you have to do certain drills and things are slower, it gets really boring and you're kind of just in the mode of just like, okay, what's next? But being able to do a lot of competing and a lot of playing really like gets our energy flowing and really like makes the just whole atmosphere of the gym feel more alive and gets our competitive like atmosphere going.
What's been the focus on your individual game heading into this year?
And I'm just going to do what's best for the team, and I'm going to just work as hard as I can. It's my last season, so I want to put it all out on the court and try to do as best as I can.
Let's go back a few years. What can you tell us about the decision you made to transfer to Alabama, and how has it been just over the last 3 years now getting to call this place your home?
I mean, it was a little concerning to like be from the West Coast, California, and like what's the South, like what's Alabama, and then coming here and like actually experiencing a culture around this state. It's not just the community, it's the whole entire state wrapped around this entire school, and it's like such a different culture than you could ever feel anywhere else. And that was a big decision of coming here, and like since being here, I mean, it's just a whole family, like not just within volleyball, but a whole school. Like everyone cares about you. Everyone's asking how you're doing. People even opening doors for you, being like, oh my gosh, like you're part of the volleyball team. That's so cool. How are you? Like, how's your season going? And I know not a lot of people, a lot of places don't really care, but here everyone cares and everyone like wants to know how you are. And it's just been a truly great experience.
You enjoyed as well playing in the SEC and seeing how maybe some of those football rivalries even spill over on the volleyball floor.
Let me tell you, the SEC is different. The SEC is truly competitive. Like, and when it's a Power 5, like, it means so much more than just a game. It means culture and means what you put on your chest every single day. Like, it is a tradition of what you're standing towards and just trying to do your best. And it is a rivalry and it is a doghouse playing in day out.
Oh, no, that's been the same on the practice floor getting ready for this season. What can you tell me about some of the teammates that have really stood out to you over the last few weeks?
I'm thinking everyone's doing so well. I have to give great commitments to just our front row entirely. Like, just some skills that we've been working on, especially like with the block. Just it looks so good. Like just from where we were, like I know our middles, Chase Campbell, Layla Smith, and Aaliyah Wells, like they're working their butts off, like day in and day out to get on that net and to really like close those blocks, and they're doing a great job. And even our back row players, like the defense around the block is getting so much better. And so I'd say everyone's doing an amazing job and just keeping that energy up.
How much do you enjoy playing here inside Foster Auditorium? A little bit of a different look now, a true volleyball floor painted on.
Oh, it looks so good. Like we always love Foster, you know, because it's one of those older buildings on campus, and so it gives a little like just individualistic views towards it and stuff, and you don't kind of see it as a gym out from the outside, but you get in here and it's like your own little space. But there's new little renditions and the little Rashinda red beams up there, like just a little uniqueness to it, and it feels like home. And just the new renovations, it looks so amazing, and we're just so grateful to like have the opportunity to be in a new space.
We're really excited for the volleyball season to start. We mentioned some of your teammates. How about your newest teammate, Lucas, Coach Reed's son that was born in late July? How much have you enjoyed getting to know him?
Oh, he's so adorable. Oh my gosh. He is a little bundle of joy, and like having all the coaches like Matt Scott, his kid, come in and just have our weight trainers' kids come in, like all of them playing around, like they're the cutest little things. I know they're going to look so cute in little Alabama shirts.
Part of the Crimson Tide family. Well, Abby Marjama, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck as Alabama volleyball begins its season this weekend. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Best of luck to Abby, Marjama, and the Crimson Tide starting the season this weekend by hosting the Crimson Tide Invitational. You can watch all those matches online on the ESPN app on SEC Network Plus. As we gear up for the weekend, it is time for the Wickles Weekend Update. Of course, brought to you by our friends at Wickles Pickles. Wickedly delicious. Check them out online at wickles.com. Of course, here we have the pickled chips along with the relish. So many great products available at wickles.com. Let's take a look at our broadcast schedule here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Coming up later tonight, we will have Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa coming your way at 6:30. We'll also have a new edition of Tide TV This Week coming across your television stations all around the state, as well as the Alabama Athletics YouTube page as well this weekend. Of course, still have Crimson Tide Today rolling each and every day across the Crimson Tide Sports Network on radio, also on the Varsity Network app as part of the Alabama Insider Podcast. We'll have the first episode of the Nick Saban Television Show with Chris Stewart and Coach Saban. We heard Chris talk about that a little earlier in the week, and we will have on September 3rd football. Alabama against Utah State inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. It'll begin at 6:30 p.m. and our radio coverage that day will start at 3:30 p.m. right here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And right now, you're on the CTSN Facebook page. Remember, this is your home for the booth cam that's going to be coming up all throughout the season, so make sure you join us for Alabama football right here on the CTSN Facebook page. And on Labor Day, 2 days after Alabama starts the season, we will have our first edition of Crimson Tide Rewind at 6 p.m. from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. So if you're in the Birmingham area, hope you can join Corey Reamer and myself for that show as we look forward to breaking down Alabama football against Utah State. And you know what? On that show on September 5th, we'll be previewing Alabama against Texas. The trip to Austin will be coming up the very next Saturday, so we're really looking forward to everything that's coming up here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And again, that was your Wickles Pickles Weekend Update brought to you by Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious. It's a great part of our show, Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Don't forget, the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs are almost here. Experience unforgettable racing as the NASCAR Cup Series playoff race returns to Talladega Superspeedway on Sunday, October 2nd. Lock in your tickets today at TalladagaSuperspeedway.com. Got to say a huge thank you to NASCAR as our presenting sponsor for Crimson Drive, and this is, again, the final time we will just have one show a week for you on the Crimson Tide Sports Network Facebook page, because starting next week, we're getting ready for game week. We'll have two editions of the show, Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Central, right back here on the CTSN Facebook page, Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Got to say a huge thanks to all of our friends who have joined us on the show today. Chris Stewart gave us a great preview of Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. Make sure you come back here at 6:30 tonight to watch Chris on the video stream for Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show. Also, Alabama Volleyball starting the season. Rashinda Reed and Abby Marjama joined us earlier as well. Don't forget Crimson Tide Soccer coming up tonight, 6 p.m. against Southern Miss here in Tuscaloosa. They'll also be at home on Sunday at 6 o'clock against Clemson, so best of luck as well to Wes Hart and the Alabama soccer team. Thanks to our producer, Ethan Carabin, for putting this show together. For everybody with the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this has been Roger Hoover saying thank you for watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Let's enjoy this last weekend without football for the season, as Alabama football is almost here. But until then, until Tuesday at 2 p.m., roll Tide, everyone.